21 practical recommendations across 4 key pillars. Those are the central bones of the PFA's Ready for Takeoff report, the largest research into women's football in Australia in the history of the game in this country, all designed to showcase the practicalities of achieving one goal: professionalism of the A-League women's competition. My name is Poletti. Joining me, as always, is Burke. I mean, it's a 70-page report, and we're going to do our best to sum it up, aren't we?
It's quite a few pages. Luckily, there are some pretty pictures that you can also look at whilst you are reading 70 pages. It was a good read. I understood everything that they were saying, and honestly, a lot of it I already knew. A lot of it I think you, dear listener, will also already know. These are things that we have been talking about for many, many, many seasons and maybe even more years. Nothing in this should really be news to anyone, really. There are a couple of new or newer ideas, but yeah, nothing on this should be... This is not groundbreaking stuff. This is really just a collated paper of everything we know that needs to improve and should be improved, and at this point must be improved, but like fully backed up with evidence and surveys and research, so it's a lot harder for people to ignore, but they will likely still try. Such is the joy of being a woman in society. Yippee!
Yeah. So as you mentioned there, it's collation. This was 18 months in the making. Player surveys, fan engagement, in-depth research. I mean, industry analysis. This has put all of it together into the one document that is very clear. It's very easy to read. It looks at it from different angles as well, which I like. I mean, when I read the report, I wasn't when I first saw the report, I wasn't expecting to read the term Swifties in this report, but I did. And to be fair, it absolutely makes sense in the context. It's tried to modernize the term Stan, which, as we know, in and of itself has taken on new life in probably the last decade or so, compared to it being a late 90s term, which is what I most know it as. That's a story for another day. I'm not going to go into that here. We're here to talk about the PFA report.
That's a whole different podcast, guys.
Yes.
Actually, there's a documentary on it.
Yes.
Go watch that.
Which you can watch on the streaming service which hosts A-League men and A-League women games. So, you know what? Watch your football and then go watch Stans.
And then you'll understand.
Yes. You will indeed.
The pun was intended there. Understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just had to make sure that one didn't get lost there.
I didn't get lost to me. But no, it's always good to have clarification for those of you who are tuning in. We appreciate you tuning in each and every week that you do so. If this is your first time tuning in, then we absolutely welcome you all the same. We hope that you enjoy everything we're about to talk about. So this is the second of our standalone episodes in talking about things related to PFA reports. We did one a month ago as it spoke to the player surveys coming out of last season. So if you want to go watch that, you can click above our heads here or put a link into the episode description if you're listening on audio platforms. I want to start off with some quotes here from PFA CEO Beau Busch. What we found is that the A-League women is the biggest opportunity in Australian sport. A fully professional game here in Australia is crucial to being able to create the next generation of Matildas, but also to ensure we achieve our potential and win a FIFA World Cup. Our vision is one in which we address the gender pay gap in Australian football and create a sustainable and thriving league. When I shared the vision with the Matildas, one of them wrote back to me, "That's great. It means I get to come home. It means I can be part of something special. It's an opportunity we can't afford to miss." That last quote there from Beau Busch, not the anonymous Matilda. I should very much make that distinction and clarification there. Look, I think that says a lot, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. We've got players who would rather play in second division leagues in Europe. Right now, we've got players who'd rather play in first flight competitions in other parts of the world that aren't necessarily as good as the A League women, but they pay more, right? And I think that's exactly what it is that these leagues pay for. We saw Cannon Clough come out in one of these player survey reports before she went to the USL and basically said like she made the choice to go back, and it was very much financial. At this event on Wednesday, Elise Kellen Knight, so I scroll through and try to find where I stuck that quote. Basically said that the reason. There we go. Here's the quote. The sole reason I retired personally was the conditions just aren't good enough. I just could not play anymore. I never want another player to have to go through that. That is a former Matilda, one of the players who went on strike in 2015 to ensure the Matildas got the pay conditions that were manageable. Not even the conditions they have today. Conditions at the time that were manageable. She doesn't want to have to see another player go through this. And to be honest, I don't blame her.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I really hate that that's what it came to for KK because she had such a huge impact on the Matildas and then suffered such an awful string of injuries and then had to retire because she just couldn't, yeah, like she said, the conditions weren't good enough for her to be able to continue. And I remember for a very long time posting on Twitter being like, damn, the kids don't even know about KK. Like they don't even, and that's such a shame because players like KK and others that have retired or left, they shouldn't have, they shouldn't have been in that situation and never should have happened. And it definitely should not happen again.
Yeah, no, it absolutely shouldn't. I mean, you were talking on the Beyond 90 podcast about this as well. Your co-host there, Eric Subiano, who's been a Dub fan for an incredibly long time, has relationships with a lot of different players, has talked about some of this as well, where he said like it's not his place to tell some of these players' stories, but a lot of them have similar stories.
Yeah, it's just the worst thing to hear because it really like shouldn't it should never have been the case.
No, it absolutely shouldn't. So what I want to do is we're going to go through these pillars of the report one by one. So we're going to start with fit for purpose governance, pillar number 1. Under that, there are 5 recommendations. We are currently on page 11 of the report. If you want to come along with us as we go through the report, we'll put a link to that in the description, so with the direct link to the report. If you want to read along while we talk about it. So, first point of that, the A-Leagues are governed by an independent commission with proper gender representation and the requisite skills and experience to steer thriving competitions. Second point, the independent commission and APL management are qualified and resourced to pursue the distinct opportunities of the A-League women. Third point, A-League women composition is determined by clubs meeting minimum criteria to ensure each contributes to the league's objectives, including a demonstrable market that can support a thriving professional team, quality ownership with financial resources and sporting and business acumen, ability to meet the minimum standards of a high-performance workplace. Point 4, FA's regulatory and oversight role is clearly defined, transparent, and fit for purpose. And point 5, a comprehensive and collectively agreed club licensing program is developed between FA, the APL, and the PFA to ensure transparency, consistent improvement, good governance, and staff development. There's a lot in there, but
There really, really is. I think the big ones for me are probably the first point with the independent commission with proper, sorry, I know how to talk, gender representation, and then point 4 with the regulatory oversight, especially the transparency, because they do write about it a bit further down, but we still don't actually have all of the like documentation available to do with the unbundling from the FA. which is a little weird, a little strange. Don't know why. Don't know why we don't have that, considering it happened like 5 years ago now, 6. I, it happened a long time ago,
Yes.
so we really should have what like we need from that. And obviously having the independent commission, which is what they have across the AFL and the NRL, I believe as well, which they mention a bit further down. Like, it clearly works for them. Don't see why it wouldn't work here. I think it's crazy that we don't, or that I think it's crazy that we have a board that just has club owners on it. Because, who's advocating for Canberra United?
Yeah.
I can't hear
No.
anyone because there's no one there. Yeah. So, yeah, proper gender representation and an independent commission would be huge for the league, and as well as clearly knowing what the FA is doing around the A League Women's.
Yep. I mean, the points I want to pick out, point 3 and point 5, around meeting minimum criteria and agreed club licensing program. As I did ask PFA CEO Beau Busch about this during the formality press conference part of the event, and we will hear from Beau Busch a little bit later on in the episode, as well as Melissa Barbieri and Rhianna Pollicina, who I conducted one-on-one interviews with at the event yesterday. So I asked him, because a lot of this was put together, this was supposed to happen last month. It didn't, for reasons. It's happened now, the launch of this event. But even then, the player surveys, a lot of this analysis and everything was put together before, the true extent of the Western United situation had taken place. Obviously, before the Mariners situation had taken place, given that took place this week, and of the ongoing situation with Canberra United, as we know as well. So I asked him about that, and what sort of impact that had, given the rapidly changing situations there on the report, given all of this happened beforehand. And Beau Busch, quote, "I think what is absolutely clear is that we cannot stay where we are right now. If we stay where we are right now, it's like driving halfway to a destination, all cost and no payoff." What the research makes crystal clear to everyone within the sport is there's a massive opportunity here. We need to get the underlying preconditions right in the first place. So that's around governance, getting that right, so that the focus can be on the A-League women achieving its potential, getting the economy right, so that the players that were in the room can actually fully commit to the industry, to be the best footballer they can be, to be out in communities, to be engaging people, to getting along with games. All of it needs to be a focus. The back half of that was paraphrased, because if I read the entire quote, we'd be here all night. They need to be playing in the right stadiums, and to ensure they're consistently engaging fans in the way that they want to be engaged with. More on that later. And if we do all, this is direct quote from Beau Busch now, not a paraphrase one. If we do that well, we believe we will not have any more repeats of Western United or Central Coast. We have to get those fundamentals right, and what's occurred at those clubs just further illustrates that, which backs up the point of making sure that that the ownership is right, that the licensing is right, around these clubs, so that we don't have any more of these situations. We don't have another New Zealand Knights. We don't have another Gold Coast United. We don't have another North Queensland Fury, where these expansion clubs come and go like they're candy.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have that stability, because there's no reason why these teams in any place in Australia can't survive. I mean, you see it in the AFL and the NRL. You've got so many teams, and they are all, able to consistently survive. So, don't see why we can't do it either.
No, absolutely not. We'll move on to pillar 2 of the report.
Just want to, just really quick, shout out to page 15
Yep.
of the report, just because it's like, what if, from the APL's point of view, what if we made decisions for 5 years, and every single one of them was wrong. And it just highlights that, which is
Yeah, so page
crazy
15.
work. Just put the league on put the ABL absolutely on blast.
Yep, so page 15 of the report. The APL's performance since separation. The APL's tenure so far could be described in two phases: an initial failed digital-first experiment and a pivot to austerity in 2024. Neither phase is centered on the fan experience or the quality of the core product, and the performance is best summarized by a series of key decisions: the Silver Lake investment, keep up, the broadcast deal, club distributions, the A-League men and A-League women grand final hosting rights, and Unite Round. Because what I think what a lot of people have forgotten is that the A-League women hosting grand final hosting rights were bundled up in that deal as well, and Unite Round ended up being the compromise to get out of said deal, which meant Sydney FC played a grand final in Sydney that should have been in Melbourne for Western United in their first season. That's not to say the result would have been different, but the game was in Sydney when it shouldn't have been. It could have been different.
Everything could have been different. We could not be looking at this report right now if they had just let them play that game in Tarneit.
No, it wouldn't have been at Tarneit. It would have because Tarneit wasn't built yet. They were playing out of...
Oh my God, true.
Yes, they were playing out of Caroline Springs George Cross, I believe it was.
God, could you imagine going to Caroline Springs for the Dub Grand Final?
I'd imagine it would have been...
I have been to that ground, guys.
I'd imagine it would have been at the Misses.
Yes. God, imagine going to Caroline Springs for the grand final. Oh my God. Actually, you know what? Stranger things have happened. They did make literal US World Cup, women's winners play there. So,
Yes. Stranger things have happened indeed.
I don't think that's really a good thing that they did that. Whatever. It's too late. It's all happened now. We're here. We're looking at the report.
We are indeed. So we're going to move on to page 22 of the report, which is effective fan engagement. There's 8 points of this particular pillar. Point 1, a fully professional A-League women to be relaunched following the Women's Asian Cup, demonstrating to fans it's an elite product which values women. Point 2, a player-centric fan engagement model enabled through a focus on off-field storytelling. We're going to talk about that point. That point's been circled in both of our diaries to talk about. Point 3, a unique brand and identity for the A-League women with a strong focus on social impact, inclusion, progress, collectivism, and the celebration of women. Point 4, the APL to establish and maintain strong central quality control over clubs' fan engagement strategies. Point 5, formalize collaboration between the APL and FA on fan engagement to leverage the popularity of the Matildas, including reciprocal promotion obligations. I want to talk about that as well. Point 6, an amplified broadcast product enabled by more cameras, better shoulder content and analysis, multiple on-site commentators, and that which captures in-stadium support and atmosphere. Point 7, the A-League Women Match Day presentation and experience includes family-friendly entertainment and activities, highlights player stories, and encourages positive social interaction between fans. And then point 8, the APL in cooperation with the FA member federations and the PFA to create an industry-wide game development program to establish deep bonds between grassroots players and A-League women clubs and players. Burke, we'll kick it off with you. You want to talk about points 2 and 6.
Yes. I'll start with 6 just because we both want to talk about 2. I personally am of the very, very, very large opinion that even if they don't manage to do any other points in this entire report, if they manage 2.1 and 2.6, we're good. If they manage to fully relaunch the league, fully professionally and have more cameras, better shoulder content, analysis, on-site commentators, I honestly think we'll be good. We won't be great, which is what this report is asking us to be and is what we should be, but we'll be good. We'll be really, really good. I would do anything for a 3rd and 4th camera, maybe even a 5th. maybe even a fifth. Let's get crazy. Let's get crazy. 5 cameras. Um, even just one from the opposite side of the pitch. Just one from the opposite side, please. Because it's mentioned in the report by quite a few fans. They've highlighted that when you watch dub games, because of the way they're set up and because of where they play them at, the cameras are always on the side where all the fans are seated.
Yep.
So when you put the stream on, especially if you're watching it like for the first time, you're like, oh, where is everyone? They're
Why
there.
is there no one here? Yes.
They're just right underneath the camera, and no one can see that. You can they'll sometimes get shots of crowds at places like Leichhardt, and Number Two Sports Ground because they have like the hill and stuff that the hills and the grass area that people sit on. But yeah, let's just get one more camera, just one, and commentators on site. Dear God, please, please. You don't even need to fly people there. Just get locals. I'm sure there are people in every state that would kill for a chance to commentate. Let's sort this out. Let's sort this out.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
a lot of that. I think a lot of that comes down, and this is mentioned on later on in the report, is the idea around fit for purpose stadiums. Is that a
yeah,
lot of the stadiums just currently aren't fit for purpose, right? So, to go to your point, if you look at the Sam Kerr Football Centre, it shoots out into what is essentially trees in an open field. Home of the Matildas, again, trees behind, the far side of the ground. There are fans there, but it's a lot
open
of
field.
wildlife.
Can't eat. Absolute open field.
Yep.
Cows.
Uh, but then if you
Paddocks.
contrast that with what they've done this season with Pororoa Park,
Yep.
they've changed the camera angles to shooting towards the grandstand, which is nice.
Yeah.
For all the faults that Perry Park has, that was where the
Which is
camera
a
is set
lot.
up. It's where the camera set up. It's where the camera was set up for those games as well, so you could actually see the fans in the stands, which is nice. So just more of that. Making sure that the stadiums are right. But we'll touch on that and later. And then you wanted to touch on point two as well.
Yeah, so it's about the player-centric fan engagement model, which I have conflicting feelings about. This one, this point links into the concept of the Swifty fans or, the stands, people that are much, much newer to the game. There's nothing wrong with being this kind of fan. Absolutely not. The more the merrier, please, especially if it means you come to a game. If you come to a game with like, a little bracelet that you've made to swap with someone, I think that's awesome. And I would love to receive a bracelet from someone. Maybe I should make some. Anyway, that point aside, there's nothing wrong with being like a Swifty fan or a casual fan or whatever you want to call it. The problem that I foresee happening here is the sort of strange parasocial relationships that people are starting to develop with their favorite celebrities, which, again, if you go back to the original understanding of the word stan, makes a bit more sense here. Yeah, and I just think we need to sort of be careful about how much we get from the players because they're not trying, or at least I would hope, they're not out here trying to become celebrities. They're out here trying to be footballers. So, as much as it is like, oh, I love my favorite player. I think she's the greatest. And you know what? You're right. She probably is the greatest. Um, we do need to understand and like keep a really strong sense of boundaries between players and fans. Like there has to be a line that isn't crossed because I worry about the concept of players becoming influencers because I don't think they need to do that. I don't think anyone needs to become an influencer, obviously, but I really don't think the players need to do that. I think they should really lock in on this full-time athlete thing, especially when, they do the revamp for next season and it's fully professional. Um, and yeah, I just think we need to be a bit careful there. I'm not saying we should not be player-centric or player-focused, because that would be stupid. Like, I understand
Yep.
that's where the money is, but we need to be careful and,
Yeah.
protect the players as well and the fans. So,
Yeah, 100%. For those of you who may be of a younger persuasion, go listen to Stand by Eminem, and you'll understand exactly what we're talking about. It should serve as a warning. I'll leave it at that. The point I wanted to make on this particular point is that the A-League's already tried this with A-League's All Access. Now, there weren't as many stories on the women's players as I would have liked. It was a very heavy focus on men's players, which is what it is. Two problems I found with that. Well, one, the gender disparity there was insane in the telling of some of these stories. The second issue I had is it's difficult to tell some of the stories when the players have to juggle jobs, right? And like, it's like, well, okay, how do you tell these stories properly? Like, one episode that stands out there is, the episode where they focused on Beatty Goad, because, her job is a key, like, that is the story there. It was, being a medical student and being a medical professional is the story. And so that's different compared to, talking about player X and, oh, well, we kind of want to film on this day. Oh, sorry, I've got to go work a 6-hour shift, wherever it is I'm working, right? And so maybe you don't get to tell the story the way you want. And I think that's a real problem, right? Like, and I think back to, Fiona Wirtz, where she
Yep.
bangs in a whole bunch of goals, and then the next day she works a shift at McDonald's.
that was
Like,
unbelievable. That was just insane.
That shouldn't be happening.
Like, that's not a feel-good story, guys.
No.
Do not show me that. And when the league goes fully professional, we won't hopefully have to. That's the point. Like, it's not a rebuttal against what you're saying, because I know what you're saying, but it's like, I think they should try that again when
Yep.
the players are fully professional, so they can actually tell their football stories and not have to be like, yeah, I train this many times a week and then I go work as a nurse and I'm on my feet for another 12 hours or whatever it is. Like, that's not, like, it's incredible that they do that, but that's not what they should be. Like, they shouldn't have to do that. They should only be, I'm a firm believer that they should only be working a second job if they actually want to. Players should absolutely have the choice to be a full-time professional athlete in this league.
Yep.
That doesn't mean they can't get a second job. Like, if you got a degree, use it. No problem with that, but yeah.
Yep. Hopefully no more hearing of players getting called up for Matildas in the middle of a 10-hour shift. 2 points I wanted to focus on. Point 3, a unique brand and identity for the A-League women with a strong focus on social impact, inclusion, progress, collectivism, and the celebration of women. I've got one hyphenated word for you, W-League. Let's move on. Point 5, formalised collaboration between the APL and FA on fan engagement to leverage the popularity of the Matildas, including reciprocal promotion obligations. I remember... there were Matildas games in Melbourne after the season had ended. There were Matildas games in Perth after the season had ended. And I don't remember. I believe for the Perth games, I don't believe there were any players there. I think for the Melbourne game, there might have been.
Players,
I don't remember for the Canberra game.
Weren't there for very long.
Yes, and there's a reason for that. It's because the players weren't under contract. Therefore, in order for the players to appear, they had to be paid an hourly rate, which adds up very, very quickly for players for the clubs as an expense that maybe they can't afford to take. If you've got players under full-time 52-week contracts. This would be
You
included
can
in
write
that.
this stuff in, guys. Get on these full-time contracts. This is talking to the clubs, obviously. The players would love to be on a full-time contract. Let's start drafting up the paperwork, guys. Start now, so you can be ready. So we don't have to, so it doesn't have to get scary about when the season starts. Get on it now.
Yep. And then we'll move on to Pillar 3, a reformed football economy. 4 recommendations here. The A-League Women becomes full-time professional from the 26-27 season. The player payments model targets the unique and growing women's football revenue streams of match day, membership, commercial, transfer fees, prize money, and FIFA World Cup club benefits. The return of the golden generation Matildas to the A-League Women is a strategic priority. The A-League Women economy is fully integrated and embeds revenue sharing to establish a cooperative culture between clubs. Is there anything you want to pick out there, Burke?
Not like particularly. It's just that in this section, they show you, they really show you what other women's leagues in Australia are doing, in terms of their pay and just how different it is, for the A-League Women's, which is once was, the highest salary you could get is now the lowest. And that was like one of the highest globally at the time, which is woeful to think about. The fact that it's now the lowest in Australia, appalling stuff. Just genuinely appalling. These players are like living below the poverty line. Hence why they have the second job. Wouldn't be surprised if some of them had third jobs, honestly. But the other thing they really highlight is how the WSL went fully professional a couple of years ago and how it was the absolute correct choice. And I think this really is our sort of moment of reckoning with the league. If we don't do this now, I don't think there's going to be another chance.
It's almost like it's going to be too late. Yes.
Like it's now or never, especially considering what they're projecting like transfer revenue is going to be. So many people play football in this country, and I mean our round ball football.
Yep.
So many women and girls play it. There's so much potential out there. If we fully professionalize and make the most of it, people can and should be making money. We've been saying this for ages.
Yep.
That, we need to take advantage of the transfer market and, fully professionalize. But if you, especially look at the Women's Super League in the UK and what they've done, like the potential is there. We know it's there. It's there for other leagues, other codes in Australia. It needs to be there for us too.
Yep, I couldn't have said it any better myself, so I'm not going to try to. We'll move on to page 56 of the report, or page 57 of the report, I should say, which is suitable matchday infrastructure. 4 points here. All A-League women clubs to secure modern, purpose-built and well-located boutique home venues that have the capacity to cater to the distinct women's football audience and accommodate the growth trajectory of fans. Point 2, matchday facilities meet minimum standards that are appropriate for women players in summer scheduling. Point 3, stadium amenities, including food and beverage, reflect that of an elite national competition. Point 4, the establishment of a national football infrastructure body that includes all stakeholders to streamline football's approach to government-supported infrastructure development. My thoughts on point 2 is in the PFA's player report at the end of last season. You discussed this in the video as well. Just the lack of air conditioning in some change rooms, the heat that the players have to deal with, the matchday facilities just absolutely not being up to scratch at certain venues. Look, we've been talking about boutique stadiums in Australian football, ad nauseum for, what seems like forever. There's not a problem unique to the women's game, unfortunately. There's a problem that, impacts the men's game as well. So I don't think we need to go too much into that. Stadium amenities, including food and beverage, reflect that of an elite national competition. Very recent one, Perry Park, most, if not all, of the food stands shutting at the conclusion of a men's game during a double header, in which the women played second. So that's big point right there.
Also, if someone somewhere could consider catering to dietary requirements, that would be so nice. Not to like the only stadium venues, anything's really that I've been to for any sport in Melbourne, at least, that I've been able to get food at because I have celiac disease, have been Amy Park and the MCG. So if other places could please do something about that, not even just like for celiacs, people have other food, requirements.
Yep.
Let's think about other people. I can guarantee you that there are a lot of people that are fans of this league that are vegetarian or vegan.
Yep.
Let's sort something out, guys. But do not combine all of those into one thing. Like, do not be offering a celiac vegan item, please. Separate things. Separate things. Don't take my dairy away from me, please. I need it.
I think there's one solution here. Acai food trucks in every single game, and that would solve everyone's problem.
In the summer, that would actually rock. I would love that. Oh, with peanut butter on it. Oh, people do have nut allergies.
They do, yes. So there we go. We need more solutions there, because but yeah, food for thought there, pun intended. Is there anything else you wanted to tackle from this particular pillar, the final pillar of the report?
Yeah, the one thing about the first point,
yep.
boutique home venues that are well located, that
yes, yep,
that one's very hard.
Actually,
that one's a very hard one to actually achieve. But I think instead of maybe focusing on being well located, maybe more focus could be put on ease of access. So making sure there's adequate public transport, because it is not easy to get to any of the grounds in Melbourne that aren't the misses if you don't have a car. It's not that it's too hard, it's just that it's a very easy deterrent. Because if you're looking at the maps of how to get there and it's 2 trains and a bus, no one's doing that. Or maybe some people might.
The sickos are doing that.
Yes, the sickos are doing that.
I remember a trip to Melbourne where I caught a train and a bus to go watch an NPL men's game at the Olympic Village.
Oh, you know what? The Olympic Village rocks. Everyone should go to the Olympic Village if they can.
I was staying in Melbourne. I caught a train and then I caught a bus on a Sunday, mind you.
Oh, Sunday timetables.
So I had to make sure that I was leaving the stadium very, very quickly to make sure that I could get the bus back to the train station. Not even just the last bus, just so I didn't have to wait an hour for the next one. At which point it would have been quicker to walk to the train station.
It would. Everyone should go
Olympic
to
Village, good venue. Would recommend.
Great venue. But well located is going to be so difficult to achieve because they haven't even managed it really for the men's so much. But I do like the idea of there being boutique venues for just the women's game. They talk in this section, I want to say, about... is it in this section? They mention it somewhere in the report. I want to say it's this section. The Kansas City Current, which are the only women's team, I think, in... Oh, they do mention it here. It's literally the next page. Really good. They're the only club in the world that has their own exclusive purpose-built stadium, which is sick that they have it. But I think more teams should be having that.
Yep, no, you won't hear any argument from me. What I will say, probably one of the better located grounds in the competition is the number 2 sports ground.
People love number 2 sports ground.
It's actually pretty well located. Yeah, I can't blame them in the slightest at all. It's a shame I don't get to go up there as often as I would like. Looking at some of the venues around the competition, Leichhardt Oval, fantastic venue. Probably needs a few new licks of paint, and we know there's an upgrade coming to Leichhardt Oval. But the transport options there aren't great. It's bus or light rail or car. So not exactly the easiest ground to access, I will say that. Casey Fields, Wanderers Football Park, they're not easy to access, and they're glorified training venues. We've had this discussion before. So, just little things like that is, making sure that the venues are actually suitable for purpose. What we'll do now is we'll hear from CEO of the PFA, Beau Busch, which will be followed up by an interview with Melissa Barbieri and Rhianna Pollicina. Joining us now on the Dubcast is CEO of the PFA, Beau Busch. Beau, we're obviously here at Ultra Football in Melbourne for the launch event of the Players Vision. It's just been in the works for a couple of years now. I guess if you could highlight one thing from the report that people should absolutely take away from it, what is it?
I think it's potential. The potential there is enormous. What's really clear from all the research that we've done is only reaffirm the belief that the A-League Women is the biggest opportunity in Australian sport. All of the market research, the size of the opportunity out there for the leagues, for the clubs, and importantly for the players to be able to build a great industry that we can all be proud of. That's what the document says is in the offing for us, and we're absolutely committed to bringing that to life.
21 recommendations across 4 key pillars. How did you come to those numbers?
I think the starting point was really detailed analysis. We undertook a lot of desktop analysis, we engaged with players directly, we were able to do extensive surveying with the players, we engaged sports intelligence agency Gemba to do some really comprehensive analysis using their IP. We also did fan focus groups. So really it started with a pure research focus. From there we're able to identify themes, to be able to diagnose some of the challenges we're facing. We looked at leagues around the world to look at what they're doing to be successful. And out of those came the 4 key areas and the recommendations that we would believe would address the challenges we were facing and importantly to deliver on the opportunity that's before us.
We heard from Deputy Chair Elise Kellen-Knight during the formal proceedings that stated that literally the conditions were the reason why she retired. She's obviously not the only footballer in that situation. We know that, as sad as it is. What would it mean to see full-time professionalism come into the Dub, particularly given we're a couple of months out. We're a couple of months out from the end of the season, with the new CBA to be negotiated.
Look, I think when we look back in 2015, when we approached those collective bargaining negotiations for the Matildas, what was clear was that we were actually losing players from the national team before they got to their physical peak. So they're actually retiring because financially it was placing too big a strain on them. We're seeing that play out in the A-League Women's now. Last year, on average, most players were under 22. So we're seeing consistently that the players' ability to continue to make those enormous sacrifices to play the sport that they love are simply unsustainable. So right now we need to change that. We need to ensure the players can commit to the sport. We address those strains, and we believe that those strains are self-defeating for the clubs and the league. So if we address those, players can commit more time to being the best possible athlete they can be, deliver the best possible product, and also be out in the community getting people along to matches.
We look at, this idea of full-time professionalism as sort of like, the holy grail in Australian football, but if you look at some of the players who are coming through, you mentioned the age range going down. I mean, we've got 14, 15-year-olds, starting games on a regular basis. Is there any scope to, 15 has been the benchmark for, basically the entire history of the competition. Is there any scope to maybe increasing that so that we're not throwing players in perhaps before they're ready just because they've got raw talent?
I think what will importantly happen is that we believe if we're able to increase the financial capacity of clubs to be able to invest more into their squads, we'll be able to attract back many of the Australians that have left our shores, have gone over to the USL, have gone to some of the leagues across Europe and others. We'll be able to bring them back. That will create more competition for players. That will ensure that the age range does increase, but also importantly, we do need to make sure that we create opportunity for young players as well too. But we believe that them training consistently with senior players having to fight for a position in the team will bring out the absolute best in our young talent as well too. So we need to do two things of both. Make sure we offer terms and conditions that can ensure we have the best quality talent on the pitch, the fans want to come and watch, and also create opportunity for exciting young talent that we know is fundamental to having a thriving Matildas and our national team, our international competitiveness in the future.
Last question. As I mentioned already, the CBA negotiations are coming up. I'm not sure whether they've already started or not. I imagine you're getting into around that time where they will be starting, if they haven't already. Kind of has been a dirty word across different circles in Australian football, strike.
Yep.
Is there any chance that that actually happens, that we get a strike to ensure that the players get the conditions they deserve?
I think where we are right now, we're really at the start of that process. We've had one meeting with the APL. It's really about exchanging information with them right now. So we're committed to trying to reach the best possible agreement with them, and one that delivers on the promise that's really outlined in this agreement. So that's our focus right now, is to work collaboratively with them to deliver on the sport's potential. And what we've got now with this vision is a target to aim for. We're really clear around what we want to achieve. APL have a copy of this. We've discussed it with them. So there's no lack of clarity around what the players believe going into this negotiation, and they absolutely believe in the potential of this league, and the CBA gives us an opportunity to bring that to life.
No, thanks so much for joining us. I've got Melissa Barbieri joining us now on the Dubcast. Bubs, obviously, you know, a big momentous day today at the launch of the PFA's vision for the A-League women. What was your biggest takeaway from the report?
My biggest takeaway from the report is how tangible the outcomes can be if the 21 things are implemented by, you know, the league and the 4 pillars. If we just look at how easy it is to follow, and all of our recommendations are from, you know, research-based findings, and I think it's really exciting to know that we can tangibly see the difference that this document can make, and how simple it seems really on paper, but I know how hard it's been to culminate and launch this product, but hopefully it's seen as a confidence boost for the league.
Obviously, you've been around forever. You're timeless, you're ageless, you're constantly setting the oldest player played in the league record. What does it mean to see a report like this as someone who's been there when it was, you know, playing for, what was it, like $50 a season or whatever it was? Like, you've been there from the beginning. So what's it like to, you know, see the progress now, but also where it can go? Yeah,
I think the main thing that I kept thinking throughout the presentation of Beau is that we've been in seminars before where they've got our viewpoints and they have tried to understand where we're coming from and all the things that we have to do in order to play. But now it's tangible. Now, you know, action is now at our fingertips, and I think that's the difference. I think I've been through all the, you know, the comings together, and they want to hear our viewpoints, but really nothing ever happens. But I can feel something really exciting about this product and this research, that I can see it really catapulting our game, and especially with the Asia Cup around the corner. We did miss an opportunity with the World Cup, and I don't think we want to miss this next opportunity again.
As someone who's been part of an Asian Cup, you know, part of a winning side of an Asian Cup, obviously, you know, you're going to be watching from the sidelines, cheering the Matildas on, like the rest of us. But, you know, what do you think, it being here in Australia on home soil, I mean, 2006, you know, women's football was basically non-existent in this country. To move it forward now to 2026, what do you think are going to be the key differences now, and what can move forward towards the future as well?
I think what we're going to find is that we're going to have a whole heap of fans, new fans, the ones that have been hearing about the Matildas, not quite getting across the line, and we're in states that have really focused on football, like Perth, for example. They have really been at the forefront of boosting the Matildas name and pushing it forward, and I think most states are kicking themselves because they didn't apply to get games at the Asia Cup, and I really think a lot of the host states have really pushed themselves forward because they believed in a product back in the start. And I think you know, you're going to see so many new fans, and then they're going to step out and want to see more Matildas play, and then you're going to be able to see those players each and every week in the A-League, and I think that's where it's going to lead to.
It was mentioned during the formalities of the proceeding, you know, the fact that City, side you play for, side you coach, came so close to winning the inaugural Women's Champions League. You get a chance to do it again this season, a chance to push, you know, Australia as the forefront in club football in Asia. What would it mean to be able to do that?
I think it's a fantastic opportunity, but the thing is that the first time it was almost like clubs in Asia didn't really understand the opportunity that they had in becoming, you know, Champions League competitors. And I've seen a huge influx of money and resources being placed into Asian teams. So it's going to be even harder for us to get to the final this time around. And I think that's only going to bode well for Asian football. And like Beau said, the Japanese teams, the South Korean teams are all doing huge amounts in building their resources and funding players to come play for them and bringing them home. And I think, you know, we are going to have a tough time in Asia, but I think that's the challenge that we're up for. And I think if we can go all the way that one step closer, I think not only the prize money would help our teammates and myself personally, but I think it'll put our stamp on Asian football for good.
And I guess last question is there was a report from the AFC which, you know, ranked the women's competitions in Asia, and A-League women ranked towards the top, which, given it's a semi-professional league, part-time, all of that, you know, kind of really, I guess, sums up where women's football is in Asia. What would it mean to, you know, take that step to professionalism, to, I guess, sort of create the gap, but maybe also help bring the rest of Asia along with, you know, with Australia?
Yeah, I think we already set the bar in so many sports, and I think if we can get this right, we can really catapult our game to the forefront of Asian football. And I know we have New Zealand and Wellington in the in the league at the moment, and we can bring them along on the journey with us. It's not just about Australian football, but New Zealand football as well. And I know that they play in Oceania, but having them as part of our league means that we can bolster them and New Zealand's ability to play well at World Cups as well.
Nice, thank you. Joining us now on the Dubcast is Melbourne Victory player Rhianna Pollicina. Rhianna, we're here at Ultra Football, the PFA launch event, the players' vision for the A-League women. I guess, what was your biggest takeaway from the report?
Yeah, I think it's a report that needs to happen as soon as possible to get the game going forward. And yeah, it's very important to us players. So for us to have a voice as well is very important to us, and we want to see the game growing in Australia. Not only for us players, but everyone involved in football. I think that's an important thing, and if that happens as soon as possible, that's important to us.
You've been in a few different clubs across the competition now, and you mentioned you know, in a press conference a couple of years ago that, you know, part of the reason you moved from Newcastle to City was just, you know, the facilities, the professionalism of Melbourne City. You know, to be able to see that league wide across all clubs, what would that mean to you? Yeah,
it's very important. I had the privilege to play for a club like Melbourne City, and I'm also at Victory now, which has phenomenal facilities as well, and I think every club should have that standard, and if we want to be professional footballers full-time, we need to have access to those facilities every day, and not only when we're on the pitch but off the pitch as well, doing the right recoveries to get us performing on the pitch. So yeah, as I said, every club should have that standard to have the best facilities in the competition, because that's going to produce more talent in the future.
It was mentioned during the formality part of the proceeding, you know, that Beau Busch mentioned, you know, City coming close, so close, minutes away from winning the Champions League. You're obviously part of that side. I guess coming out of that as well, there was a report from the AFC as well that put the Dub as the best women's league in Asia, a semi-professional competition, you know, players part-time. I guess if we can get to full-time professionalism, you know, what do you think that'll do to maybe help bring the rest of Asia along with us if we're setting the standard as a part-time competition?
I think the biggest thing in football these days is that leagues across the league want to improve within themselves. So if we can keep being the best and we push other countries to be better and want to build their league, football's only going to go forward. So as you said, I was lucky enough to be a part of that inaugural Asian Women's Champions League, and it was phenomenal for us players to be a part of. And yeah, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we need more teams from Australia participating in that. So there's so much revenue when it comes to that. So there's club perks as well, not only for the players, but for the club. So if we're pushing to be better as players and clubs are pushing to be better to be a part of that league as well, then all of Asia want to win that. So yeah, it's very important.
You made the crosstown switch this year, obviously. You know, what's it been like? You know, you've been at both clubs now. Like, how do the two compare to each other?
Yeah, in terms of standards and stuff, they're pretty similar. But in terms of obviously having that, like the champions and premiership, obviously City has that at the moment, but Victory is known for their success as well. And yeah, as I said, there's not much difference in the Victorian clubs when it comes to how they treat their players and what we get access to, and I'm very lucky to have been a part of both now. But we need the consistency across the whole league, and it's something that needs to happen ASAP to produce better players across the league. And yeah, we want to draw players from overseas as well. So it has to happen. As you said, like Victorian clubs, we're pretty lucky to have what we have and get access to what we have. So yeah, as I said, it has to be standard across the league.
We've got the Asian Cup coming up in Australia, you know, the second time that's been hosted in Australia. If you can send a message to the fans who are going to come out for this tournament, you know, to get on board with the A-League, what would that message be?
My biggest message would be is get around your local league, because that's what produces the Matildas, and players that are younger and are going to be the future generation for the Matildas are playing in this league right now. So we've got some quality young ones in the league, and they're the future of our sport. So if you get around the league now, you're going to see them playing for that green and gold in 5 to 10 years. So yeah, my message is get around the A-League, support your local team, push them to be better, and then you're going to produce more fans come to the game and see the future in Australian colours as well.
No, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed those chats with Beau Busch, Melissa Barbieri, and Rhianna Pollicina. Burke, I think you and I want to pick out the same points here from those interviews, which was the idea of, I would just start first with the comment from Bubs of the Women's Champions League, where, you know, a lot more teams are investing in the competitions, in their teams this season for the competition. They've seen the money that's at stake. They weren't sure what to make of season one. They know what to make of it now. They're putting in that investment, which leads us into point two, which was that if the A-League women were to professionalize, it's not just about, you know, Australia being fully professional. The idea that, you know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Australia. It could be Japan, could be South Korea, could be China. Whichever one of the nations in Asia basically makes the first leap into full-time professionalism, into full-time investment into the competition. And this was mentioned in the report as well. We'll be able to, you know, reap the glory of it. We'll be able to, you know, take that first step. But speaking specifically on Australia here, is if we do it first, we can bring the rest of Australia and New Zealand with us. The rest of Asia and New Zealand with us on the way up.
Yeah. And I think this is excellent. I think, if nothing else, the history glory hunters should be all over this one. Why wouldn't you want to be the first to have a pro league in all of Asia? Why wouldn't you? Well, the only downside is that, you know, in the future people will be like, oh my god, it only became professional then, and then when we're all old and decrepit, we'll be like, you have no idea what it was like. But yeah, I love this idea of how it's kind of a roll-on effect. Similar sort of to how when Melbourne City first showed up in the women's side and they just kind of blew everyone out of the water because they had such high standards of professionalism and playing. Same thing's going to happen here. If we manage to push this league to pro, we are going to take everyone with us. We're all on the same ride here. We're all on the same train. We will be in the front seat. We will be driving because we will be first, and we will get to take everyone else with us. A lot of, like, I don't know how I want to word this, but a win for us, and I find this happens a lot in sort of circles with women in professional sort of careers and anything, a win for one person isn't a loss for everyone else. It's a win for everyone. Obviously, it's not as big of a win for everyone else, but it's still a win because we're all moving in the right direction. If we go pro, other leagues neighbouring will look at our league. They may start losing players to us instead of the other way around. But other leagues nearby will see us and go, hey, if they're doing it, why can't we do it too? And why shouldn't they? So yeah, if anything, we should really get a jump on it just so we can say that we're first. Being first is better than being first loser.
So what I will say on that is that the Wii League in Japan, I believe, is professional. So that was a little bit of a mistake there on my part, but it really is still it is really still a race to the top in the sense that like Japan's trying to achieve a lot of the things that are said in this report. They're trying to bring their national team stars back to Japan. They're trying to make sure that it's achievable for them to come back as well, and all these sorts of things. And there was a real chance last year for Melbourne City to win the Champions League, which unfortunately they didn't. It's going to be
one kick away.
Exactly, it's going to be a little bit of a harder task this time around, but to be able to do that would be absolutely massive and certainly help move things in the right direction. I mean, being able to get that payday as well at the top, it should help. As we talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, the potential of that payday, if Canberra United were to top the league, would almost have to guarantee them another season in the competition, even if it is being run by the APL. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about from the report?
The point that you make about Japan wanting to bring back their national team players, I think, and obviously we touched on it, you mentioned it at the start of the episode about how a Matilda unnamed reached out back to Beau Busch about this report, saying that, it's a great idea because it means they get to come home. They will come back. They will come back if we give them the conditions that they can actually, thrive under. Because Matilda is not coming back to a poverty wage, guys. No one should be coming to that. But a Matilda is definitely not going to do that. But also, do you really think they want to be in Europe in winter? Do you really think an Australian wants to be doing that year after year? I know, in their heart of hearts, they all long to come back to these summers. I've seen the pictures they post when they come back of all the beaches. They want to be here so bad. Let's make it so they can come back. And how good will it be having Matildas back in the league as a draw card? Not just as a 100%. Draw card, but as a real way to sort of drive the future. Because they'll be around the younger players and they'll have the stories of what it's like being a Matilda and where they went and who they played against. And oh my God, do you remember that game? Oh yeah, I was there. I was on the pitch when we had the penalty shootout against France. That kind of stuff is invaluable to propelling someone's career. So yeah, I would 100%. Love to see. And for my own selfish personal reasons, I would really love to see these players back in a time zone that I can watch.
Yep. I can't disagree with any of that. I think, you look at the crowd numbers for Sydney FC games pre-Women's World Cup and post-Women's World Cup after Courtney Vine became a household name. That number speaks for themselves. Can you imagine what the crowds would be like if a Hayley Raso, if a Sam Kerr, if a Caitlin Ford, if a kind of Kyra Cooney-Cross were to come back to the league? I think the crowd numbers for those games would absolutely go through the roof. And then, you just sort of, you look at it, it'd be amazing. And I think the point about the weather can't be understated as well. There's a reason that men's and women's teams in Europe during their winter breaks go to Portugal or to the Middle East or to all of these other places around the world that aren't their home countries to do their sort of winter break training camps. Thank you so much for tuning into this special episode of the Dubcast where we break down the PFA's Ready for Takeoff report. We've absolutely appreciated having you, join us for this episode. We'll be back next week with our regularly scheduled programming to tackle the upcoming round of the A-League Women. Before Burke, my name is Poletti. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.